Hello everybody, a quick update on MicroStrategy today. One day late because we had breaking news on HIMS. HIMS is another favorite of this channel, so I had some breaking news. I covered that one quick. I meant, of course, to cover MicroStrategy yesterday, but it's for the better that we waited for the end of the day because MicroStrategy, as I'll show in a second, it's been essentially flat yesterday, minus 0.68%. And, there hasn't been much action over the past 6 months. It's up exactly 10% over the past 6 months. So, of course, when you look at the stock of MicroStrategy, they generate a BTC yield. Every week the BTC yield increases. And so what that tells you is that what really happened is that over the past 6 months, MicroStrategy got much cheaper as far as price to NAV. The price to NAV has been compressing and being compressed for 6 months. And it's like added pressure to a coiled spring. And only the patient investor gets that. Only the patient investor gets that eventually there's too much pressure and it pops to the upside. But we're going to have to wait. We don't know when that happens. And that's why playing the options game is really risky. And it's especially risky with MicroStrategy when you see that the volatility is coming down now. And a lot of people are a little bit upset that the volatility is coming down. Note that the volatility coming down for MicroStrategy is a function of the volatility coming down for Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin, we're back at essentially 104 right now. Talk about a stable coin. We've been in that range for like a month or something. It's barely moving. Sure, it dropped a little bit on fears of war, but nothing like I would have ever expected Bitcoin to drop on a weekend on war news, first of all. And then again, there's some hopeful news, some good news that, the US is not going to escalate further. And so, peace, I guess, is the trending word of the day. I really hope so. I really hope for peace because, that's not good for our investments. That's not good for the people. That's not good for anybody, this geopolitical madness. So I hope it's over. I hope we're past that. And I hope we can now focus again on the fundamentals of our stocks and on the fundamentals of Bitcoin. I said a second ago that MicroStrategy's volatility is going down. And one of the main reasons why I'm saying this is that I was able to predict this so well. Like, I literally called it. Like, this was my video yesterday. I say I expect a very small buy, no ATM, just a little bit of strike and strife. And what do we get today? A very small buy, no ATM, just strike and strife. This has got to be one of the smallest buys in the history of MicroStrategy at 245 Bitcoin. The fact that I wasn't the only one who was expecting that this week tells me that this stock is becoming more and more predictable. It's showing more and more of a blue chip behavior. That's why I call it the blue chip BTC, the blue chip Bitcoin Treasury company. A lot of institutions, a lot of long-term holders should like this. This is also why my ongoing thesis is that we won't see much convertible bonds anymore because I'm not so sure Saylor likes the ARB traders anymore. And he was probably educated on that by Simon Gavrovich, the head of MetaPlanet. So anyways, no common ATM, just a tad of strike and strife. And what that tells me is that combined with our ability to predict more and more what the buys are going to look like, seems to me like we're entering an era where the stock is going to keep being less and less volatile. And to me, that's the new era of MicroStrategy. The new era of MicroStrategy that's beginning is the end of the common ATM era and the beginning of the preferred ATM era, i.e., less and less draining of the equity market, right? This is from the Bitcoin 24 model. I show this chart all the time from the Bitcoin 24 model. So far, we've had mostly a strategy which was about selling new equity, selling new common MSTR shares into the $125 trillion pool of equities and via ETFs, via the QQQ, via, hopefully at some point in the future, the S&P 500, the money flows into MicroStrategy via the new common shares being issued, and it's a one-way street. It goes only once for MicroStrategy, and then it goes and grows the pie of Bitcoin in the total assets of the world. The share of Bitcoin is growing through the equity of MSTR stock, but of course, I think Saylor moved on to the bond market. The bond market is nearly 3 times as big as the equity market, and I think the instruments, the bait, is strike, strife, and stride. This bait leads to a conversion of the debt, a conversion of the value of the debt straight into Bitcoin, in addition to the collection of a premium, because these trade at a multiple of par higher than par. When you see these $100 prefers, right, $100 notional value preferred trading at 107, that's $7. That's a pure profit for MicroStrategy. They trade above par. So for MSTR, we have a price to NAV. For the preferred, we have a price to par, and the price to par is heading in a positive direction, which means that they're not only making money on draining the bond market, they're also draining the bond market, which grows the pie of Bitcoin. That's my explanation of it. And I will conclude with this, that, my portfolio has been so stable thanks to MicroStrategy. We saw it hasn't moved in 6 months. Well, 10% in 6 months. But for this channel, plus 10% in 6 months is like no movement. Anyways, it could go down 10%. I wouldn't even care. That doesn't really matter. It didn't really move. But if you see the faster horses or the riskier horses, depending on your philosophical bent, are stocks like Metaplanet. Metaplanet was down quite a bit yesterday, right? On Monday, it was down quite a bit, despite an amazing buy that they announced, and over 1,111 Bitcoin. It was down quite a bit. And then Saylor, based on hope of their future equity issuance, went up 16%. So Metaplanet has a volatility, although there's not a lot of options going on, so there's not a lot of harvesting of the Metaplanet volatility, at least in the US OTC market. Saylor, frankly, doesn't have a really great options chain, but it's still showing this volatility, plus 16%, minus 5%. Metaplanet oscillates. Saylor oscillates. MicroStrategy is a coiled spring. The volatility is slowing down. And I'll conclude with this, with my annoyance. I see a stock like Saylor. It's got a 50% maintenance ratio. You can pretty much borrow as much as you ever can on margin on that one. And of course, MicroStrategy is still being mistreated, in my view, by brokers with a 70% maintenance ratio, even though volatility suggests that this stock is now becoming a steady, heady, less volatile stock. And again, it's a bad thing if you're planning on issuing convertible debt. It's a bad thing for that. But I think he's moving on from the convertible debt. I don't think we'll see as few of them as in the past, in the future. I really don't. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see if we're able to predict what he does next week. We'll see. The next stage, my next prediction for MicroStrategy is that he's going to do an ATM on Stride. There's going to be an ATM announced on Stride. So watch out for that announcement. When that announcement comes, the market might get a little excited and we might get a pump in the stock price. But right now, the stock mostly trades in line with the Bitcoin, and it's become this beacon of stability in the world of Bitcoin treasury companies. So happy to own it. So happy to own MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is my largest position in the portfolio. So this was not financial advice, not investment advice. This is only entertainment. I hope you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful day.